Welcome back to the episode 6 recap.
Episode 6 recap.
It's episode 6 recap.
Welcome to the episode 6 recap.
Welcome to the episode 6 recap.
First try. We're gonna go through some tips and the Twilights, right?
Dude, we haven't even really looked at the tips.
Oh my god,
two.
that's it.
Oh my god.
There's so little here.
Let's go. Your turn.
Spirit mirror, kept in the shrine built on a rock in the waters near Okenshima to suppress the evil spirits of Akushi Kishima. It is believed to possess a great power which holds those evil spirits at bay. This mirror is revered by the fishermen around the Nijima area, and several times each year, a small ceremony is conducted jointly by the Ushimiya family and a Nijima fishery cooperative. In the past, kins have ordered that it be cleaned when the seasons changed. However, it is unknown whether or not he did this out of respect for the occult of the Eastern world.
That's interesting.
Yep.
First of all, it's just a random connection that we've never heard of. And then second of all, like, so this is the one that was supposedly destroyed before the story began.
Yes. Although Natsui also has a smaller spirit mirror because she is from a family of Shinto priests, which is a whole thing.
And then the dual pistol set, a set of demon dual pistols prepared by Zephyr and Furfur. The number of shots loaded depends on the format of the duel. In most cases, it holds just a single round. The emotions of the duelers are loaded into them, and if one of their bullets grazes any part of the body, the concept of the target will be denied without exception. In the past, duels were performed in the classic style with swords, but this took a great deal of time before an outcome was reached, which displeased certain impatient theater-going witches. For this reason, a dual weapon that would always kill with a single shot was asked for and created. Of course, this weapon is not particularly popular among theater-going witches who are fans of good old drawn-out dramatic duels.
Those guys use swords.
Yeah, so basically what this is saying is that people got bored of the sword fights in previous episodes.
So they decided to just do a fucking gun, easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then let's go here and just
execute.
Kill.
Just keep going.
Erika's in red.
Oh, that's a fun one. I can't wait to read that.
Oh wait, hold on. We got 2 tiers. So we've got all of these.
Yeah, we've
ones.
got all the half deaths when they're stabbed, but we don't actually know they're dead, right? And then we got the full death.
Yeah, we got.
But Battler doesn't die because Cannon helps him. Although Cannon seems to be fine, which is interesting.
It is interesting.
Can I read the Erika tip?
Hold on, is there another tier?
Oh my god. No, that's it. Fyodor Erika fell from a pleasure boat and is currently missing. Due to the Rekenjima explosion incident that occurred shortly after, don't say anything, her accident went completely forgotten. Her family says that she might have drifted to Rekenjima and gotten involved in the accident, but no evidence suggesting that she was ever on the island could be found. Forgers who knew of this accident often theorized that she drifted onto Rekenjima and include her in the illusion of the witch.
Well, I was not expecting this to be the place.
I know, it's just there. There was an explosion. We really are getting all the answers.
Wow.
Even in like how they talk about Erika here. Because basically Erika is just a person who died and people were like, well, what if she was part of the murder mystery? What if that was the thing? No basis. Yeah. But yeah, no, the Rekenjima explosion incident.
Okay.
I'm not willing to confirm or deny anything, but there was an explosion on Rekenjima. And it was an incident.
Like, I don't think, looking back over the previous episodes, that it was actually super hard to figure that one out. There's a lot of things that are very indicative of it.
I never, like, when I read through, I love to get to talk about my experience. When I read through, I never penned down, like, there was an explosion that destroyed the island, but at the end of EP4, when Angie goes, it's like, Angie looked down over the cliff, and I'm like, why is there a cliff where the mansion should be? Like, what's happening there? Yeah.
But like, this of all places.
I know, just in
you
the end
could
tip.
miss this completely if you didn't look at the tips menu.
I know, it's great. It's actually fantastic.
Which tells me that it's never going to come up in the actual story.
It's never going to be relevant.
I mean, relevant's a strong word.
What is relevant in this story anyway?
But yeah.
The answer is everything. But yeah.
So, my goodness, so many things. I guess while we're looking at Erika...
Do you want to talk about
Let's talk about Erika.
I want to know if your perception of her has changed at all over this episode.
Not really.
No?
No.
What was your perception of her then? Just to recap.
She was a twisted, sadistic individual who'd been fucked up in the past and made for a villain who thought that she was the good guy.
Is that true?
I mean, to an extent, like, it's not that, she played the detective and the detective is normally the hero of the story.
My question to you is, did she ever think that she was the good guy? Do you think that that is a true thing?
I don't know. It's less about her being the good guy and more about her being the detective, and that's like traditionally the role of the detective.
That's true.
It almost feels like she was being amoral and just using the detective as her like moral ranking.
So I'm gonna twig on something real quick, because I think this is the place to do it. So we were introduced to the character of Chickbeardo, who was given a role by old Beatrice to love Battler.
Yeah.
Her entire purpose, everything she does in this episode, is to figure out how to love Battler, and she figures it out by the end by, of course, uncovering her true form as the witch Beatrice, and realizing that the only way for her to love Battler is by playing this role of this like cackling evil witch.
Yeah.
Erika, and you feel free to disagree, but this is my take, and Erika is given a role by Bernkastel. Her role is as the bad guy. Just as Chickbeardo's role is to love Battler, Erika's role is to fight Battler. I think that there is a world that exists, and I think that there's enough evidence in this story, no red truths, mind you, but like the way that she talks with Lanor and the way that she acts at the very end, where she's like, this is the part when the villain says something horrible to the heroes just before going out. Like she is totally forced into this role of the villain by Bernkastel. And that to me is why she's a tragic character, because even though she's the detective, she doesn't have to be the hero, and in fact is forced to be the villain. And and bearing in mind that this is a story written not by witches but by humans, because that's a thing. Toya Hachijo has written this. They have written Erika to be the villain. And like, it's all, I'm trying to think of like how to express this properly, but like that is her tragedy, that she's written as the villain, and that there is no other way that Erika can exist in this story because she is the villain. It's kind of like, it's what I've been talking about how Ryukishi uses storytelling, like uses the design of his games as the storytelling. The tragedy isn't that, like, Erika has a dark past and she's just the way she is because she was born that way. Like, that's true, but the true tragedy is that this is how she's written by the author. She can't act outside of this because that's just how the author is choosing to portray her. And there's similar stuff going on, I think, with Ava in EP3, how she's very much written as a villain, how Beatrice has now suddenly become the hero despite being written as a villain in EP1 and 2. Like, there's this huge... and this is all about the whole like multiple truths thing, how like someone in reality might be very different to how they're being written into these stories.
Yeah.
And I think that is supremely highlighted by the contrast between Chickbeardo and Erika.
Don't get me wrong when I say like Erika's the good guy. I don't mean like she's actually being good in the story. I just meant like she's playing the detective, which is the traditionally good role.
Traditionally.
She's obviously
but she's
the bad
not.
guy.
She's not at all a good guy.
She's so clearly the bad guy.
Yeah.
It's more that, like, yeah, as you say, regardless of who she maybe was as a person, and you know the fact that if the real Erika was actually, you know, interested in being a detective and knew all of this detective fiction, then, you know, she probably might have been the one that actually did solve things.
Yeah, she might have been an actual detective. I'm sure there's a theory that talks about how Erika is like supposed to be representative of like a real detective trying to solve the forgery case. But yeah, I find her immensely interesting, in that her role is just to, like, in the same way that EP5 contrasts EP6, her role is to contrast the characters in the story who have love.
Yeah. I think the other thing that's interesting is that, going back to what you said about Ava in episode 3, where it's like, she's portrayed as the bad guy.
Yes.
In the claim that I think that Battler wrote the story, I think you could chalk that down to the fact that maybe Battler is upset that Ava is the one who survived.
The one survivor, yeah. There's definitely animosity towards Ava in EP3, because that's the other thing we have to remember. Is if this is written by people, it's not just some robot designing these stories in a certain way. Like, there is a perspective who's writing them. I would actually like to kind of segue to that, actually. Is Feather in... Where's Feather
She's on
here?
the
She's on the next
one.
page. Do we get both of her forms? Do we have to, like, execute and resurrect her to see her... No. What is her, like, witch form?
Maybe it's on this one?
Maybe it was. I kind of want to have Feather and her witch form up just because it's fun. I don't see it, which is very strange. Maybe there's a fourth page.
Is there? No.
No, okay. Well, so you obviously have the theory that a lot of this is written, you know, by someone, by Battler specifically, but we have confirmation now that Hachijo Toya, or Featherin, is writing the stories after episode 2. What do you think is this character's connection to the story? Because even if there is like some way that Battler is also writing them or something, like what is this character even doing here?
I don't know. It's definitely the thing that's probably confusing me the most about that. Oh, here it is. There's a fucking change button.
Oh, that's fancy.
Is that on anyone else?
I've never seen it before. It probably is. It's probably an Erika for a wedding outfit.
Oh yeah, maybe. Let's go have a look.
five Featherin. We won't talk about you anymore because we want to see.
Yeah, there it is.
There it is. Oh, what a beautiful.
That's a full body.
Featherin.
Like, I don't know. I think it's certainly confusing because I'm both trying to make my theory work, but also see like, you know, what can be done with Featherin as a character.
Yeah.
I think probably going back to the whole theme of without love it cannot be seen. If I'm claiming that Battler is still the author, at least of episodes 3 and 4, I'm still kind of like hedging my bets on episodes 5 and 6 at this point. But clearly, at least to stick with the theme, there's probably some love between Hachijo and Battler, whoever that person is now.
Okay.
I almost feel like maybe in the sense that if we look at Erika as Hachijo's like construct in the story,
Piece.
Yeah.
Let's use the terminology.
Like,
yeah.
It almost would seem to me that like maybe Hachijo is doing an insert there with the whole wedding scene between Battler and Erika, where maybe like Hachijo is maybe like, you know, the new person Battler's lover or something, but also feels that they will never be able to like be the good guy or never be able to like be the true love of this person while Battler's still there loving Beatrice.
Right.
Like that's kind of the only thing that I can think of, because I was like looking as we were going through the episode, like if Hachijo wrote this, why?
Yep.
And like, you know, the inclusion of the wedding and stuff was just part of a really weird thing to me, where it's like, why is this the way that we have to explore how Erika's already so twisted when we've already seen like so much of it? I feel like that's probably some allusion to the real character of Hachijo. Yeah. Because again, as we went back to way back when we were talking about the whole appearance of Kawabata as a plane pilot, when we know that he's a boat captain, it's like you write what you know. Yep. And Kawabata appeared in the original Beatrice's Tales, who we kind of... I feel like we can just comfortably say that it's, you know, Seo, Shannon, Cannon, Beatrice, same person.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Like, they're a servant, and they would have known the boat captain that came to and from, and also if they lived in the mansion where things were dropped off out back, that probably also would have been someone that they, like, knew about. So then, in their story, episode 1, they wrote, it's like, oh shit, I need someone to say they're the captain over the radio. Who do I know who's a captain? Right. And I feel kind of the same, that, like, the authors of these stories are somehow writing about themselves. And also going back to where I'm saying, like, at the end of episode 3, where everything goes black and disappears. Or was it episode 4? I can't remember.
Episode 3.
Yeah, in episode 3 when everything goes black and disappears, I took that to be like, you know, maybe this is a sign of, like, memory loss, amnesia, or whatever. Where, like, you've kind of lost the original identity and then it comes back for episode 4 or whatever.
I mean, there are multiple characters who become dolls and have lifeless eyes, and like their minds are trapped. So
yeah, stuff going on and there. That's like, these are the examples I've chosen, but I think those are also cases where like the truth is reflected in those ones. Like, especially in the seemingly magical effects that have no justification other than being magical bullshit. I think those are probably the ones that actually hint most at the truth. Like when we go back to the fight in the Rose Garden in episode 3, it's like maybe Kumasawa found out about Seo's plan to actually kill her when maybe it was originally meant to be a setup or whatever, and tried to fight back. Maybe. And maybe we can assume that that's part of like the truth, that Kumasawa did end up finding things out and like trying to fight back.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, speaking of magic, do you want to talk about the love duel a little bit? Because it's a pretty big part of this episode. Obviously, heavily suggests chicken interests. There's no way around that for me at this point. Like, this episode is the most in favor of a Seo culprit theory of all of them so far. A lot of callbacks to the original two tales.
Yeah.
And we have Zephyr and Furfur, who like are constantly switching between each other and finishing sentences and speaking as one, and the three of them put up their hands. Like, yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like. I definitely felt like there was. I'm trying to think if I like put this beyond just being a hint towards Chikan interests or Seo culprit theory. Did anything else stick out to you in the love duel?
I think the thing that stuck out to me was, first of all, the fact that it's like, do we look at this as an internal or an external fight?
Yes.
Like, and also, when do we like pin this in the timeline?
Mm-hmm.
Because there was very much the theme, especially earlier in the episode, where what I've pinned as a theory as to what Kinzo did in the past seems to be what Battler was doing at the beginning of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Where he's like become fascinated by Chick Beatrice, when I'm saying that like Kinzo's daughter Beatrice was then the mother of Seo, like because of Kinzo's fucking crazed delusions or whatever.
Yay, Kinzo. I wouldn't put it past Kinzo.
And like basically I feel like Battler was very much being the parallel to that at the beginning of the story.
I mean, Kinzo wasn't even a character. Like, not even in the magic scenes. He
but
just didn't appear.
Like, that's the thing, is that Kinzo is still a relevant part of this story.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, his influence appears somewhere, and I think that that's where the influence appears, is in Battler. And then we're also looking at Chick Beatrice and Elder Beatrice, where, like, the two of them are talking about, like, becoming one, where it seems like Chick Beatrice is, you know, like, doesn't know how to love and has forgotten everything. And then apparently also likes mystery novels, which is something that I brought up a few times, I think. The idea that, like, the relationship between Seo and Battler was that they used to, like, meet up every year and discuss mystery or whatever, and that's why maybe Battler has this, like, present but not ever active knowledge of mystery novels.
Right.
And then there's also, like, this whole thing where it's, like, the story of the witch is represented in Beatrice the Elder, and...
Yeah,
Seo is represented in Chick Beatrice. And
yeah. I mean, Chick Beatrice is very clearly representative of, you know, the actual human culprit, whereas the Elder, Beatrice the Elder, is like all of the stories that you know the younger Beatrice is using.
Yeah.
To like become Beatrice.
And it's like the whole theme is that like or Battler's ignorance paralleling Kinzo was like what led to the creation of the Beatrice that supposedly wrote episodes 1 and 2.
Yeah. It is interesting to think about the idea that a human person would literally go around unlocking windows and then afterwards claim that they hadn't unlocked any windows. And that, you know, it's like, oh, the old spirits are coming back, but it's in the form of a witch, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean,
It's
the other thing
interesting.
you have to remember is that supposedly, how old is, like, well, I guess...
They're 19 years.
19 years old, so,
as
like,
of the
they would have been,
massacre.
like, 13 when Battler's first disappeared, and then the 6 years since, you know, they're still a teenager, so, like, doing pranks and being a jackass is, like, teenage life, yo.
I mean, Vigilia constantly refers to Beatrice as a child.
Yeah.
Despite them being a 1,000-year-old witch. I definitely think there's something there.
Yeah, and I think also talking about how, like, Virgil being the mentor for Dante to find Beatrice.
Yep.
We can also, like, turn that around in that, you know, in Inferno, well, in the Divine Comedy, Dante was looking for the love of Beatrice, but in this, it's like Beatrice looking for the love of Battler or Dante.
Well, that's what happens at the end. That's what happens at the end of EP6.
Yeah.
And what's fun to me, you seem to... You said multiple times that Battler was perhaps not as competent in this episode as he should have been. He kind of tied his own noose with that logic error.
Yeah.
Can I pose a thought to you?
Sure.
I think that Battler caused that logic error to act as a catalyst for Beatrice to remember. her form.
Similar to how that was in episode 4.
Absolutely. A parallel to how Beatrice puts everything on the line to make Battler remember the past.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair claim.
That's my claim. We're at the point where I get to start making claims, which is fun. But yeah, I think that Battler being like, I don't know if I should give it this truth or not. It's him being like, I have to do this. I have to put myself into a logic error in order to get Beatrice back. Because as we're told very early on, the only way that Beatrice can become Beatrice again, like the old Beatrice will never revive. The only way for chick Beatrice to become Beatrice again is to go through the same 1,000-year hell. And Battler figures, well, the only way that I could put her through that hell is to lock myself in a logic error.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
it not even just the logic error, but it could also be just a way of masking the, like, allusion to the 6 years that Battler was away. Like, you know, despite what's written in the story, it could also just be a way of reflecting that genesis of Beatrice, the persona of Seo.
Yeah, I mean, there was a little speech that was given. I don't remember every word of it, but it was something like, here you go, Beatrice, you take the golden hair that he likes and the personality that he loves. Like, we saw Battler say, I really like a girl who's blonde and bouncy and got blue eyes, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what Beatrice is. Right? It's a very interesting idea. Who created Beatrice anyway?
Yeah, it's like going back to episode 1 and 2 where Beatrice was very much this like perfected sadistic villain, and then it's from episode 3 onwards we start to get the imperfect human Beatrice. It's kind of the same where Beatrice itself, the personality, is like the perfect construct for Battler.
Yes. It's what he said he wanted.
Yeah.
Supposedly. Yeah, I think it's very interesting, but I don't want to poke you too much. Beatrice is such a fascinating character to me. The way that she even when she comes in to fight Erika, and the narration's like, nobody could mistake that scornful smile and that wicked laugh. And then she walks up to Battler and is like, hey, I've become this witch to come and get you. I hope that's okay. Like,
yeah, that was pretty great. I
guess I still kind of did it in Beatrice's voice, but it's very clear that she still is Chick Beatrice, some level of her. After all, she's a combination of the two Beatrices, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so beautiful. And then the trick. I know that you saw it coming, but that doesn't, in my mind, make it any more poetic.
Oh,
the way that Erika is like, I don't understand how Kennen could have gone from that room, and it's like, well, it's because he was never in there. You just said everyone else, and Shannon kind of have the same body, so
yeah. Like just that final fucking moment, like
I know.
The scene of like the two lovers holding the guns
I
together,
know.
pointing up. It's like the most fucking cliche shit ever.
It's
but
perfect.
when you've had 6 episodes of build up for it, I don't
know.
care how much of a cliche it is. It's a payoff.
I mean, Erika even draws attention to it. She's like, this is the cliche, this is the moment for the big bad to do the thing. Like,
Yeah.
and that's I think is the genius of all of Umineko, is that Ryukishi is like, he's so confident putting these cliches in, because that in itself is part of the story.
Yeah.
The fact that they are using cliches. It's so good. Ryukishi, I love you.
Yeah, I mean, while we're at that,
what do you want to jump over to?
let's go talk about the Twilights, I guess.
I guess so.
The Twilight.
I don't know what you want to say.
I mean, the thing I want to talk about is we spoke about it a bit when it actually happened, but like implications of why all of these characters were chosen, and the similarity between everything we were shown in the magic scenes before they died. And then also the interesting twist where the magic scenes where they died were not where they died, it's when Erika came and killed them.
Didn't they all end up in their respective rooms?
They did end up in all of their respective rooms, but the implication was is that if Erika hadn't run around and fucking killed them all, they would have been alive to then
Oh, I see.
solve the logic error.
Sorry, I was confused.
So like, clearly, if we take the story to be written by Game Master Battler,
Yep.
then there has to be some reason why he chose these 6 people
Yeah.
as like his people to be the ones to carry out his mystery.
I feel like we kind of covered that during the story, but yeah, if you'd like to.
But like,
Anything extra?
You know, we've definitely said what the reasons are, but taking it now that like, especially when you're talking about how the logic error was all to
was a plan?
It was a plan to like get the Beatrice he wanted back. It almost seems to me like with that in mind, that was the plan anyway.
He expected Erika to kill them.
Not necessarily that. That's one alternative.
You don't think so?
It's one alternative, and I also think as the game master, it's probably likely. But the other alternative is that even if he didn't know,
he could have used the red. Is that where you're going with this?
No. If he didn't know that Erika was going to kill them all, these are all still characters that like portray an aspect of the love that supposedly Seo had for Battler originally. Like there's Natsui, who was, you know, forced to work in ways that she's like from a different family, from a different background, and she's had to like change herself to love Kraus. But it's also kind of a good relationship in that Kraus is actually a decent husband other than being an idiot, as we saw in episode 5. Ava had to like constantly change herself and fight the family to actually get what she wanted for herself and her son, and it's like pushing her dreams onto other people. Kyrie has this astounding jealousy, which you can pair as like how Battler was, you know, the ladies' man and always got along with everyone. Supposedly, when we're looking back at like the memories of Battler, when George is confessing how he used to be jealous of like Shannon and Battler when they used to hang out together at previous family conferences.
Yep.
And then Rosa and Maria, where they both kind of come from this like fucked up background, but they still love each other.
Yeah.
They're all like aspects of the love that Seo and Battler seem to share. And it's almost like if Erika didn't kill them, they were meant to more be like fucking, you know, constellations in the star map towards what Battler was trying to do.
Yeah. Well, yeah, how they say that, you know, Kyrie gave herself up for Battler and locked herself in the room. You know?
Yeah.
Like, even his mystery isn't, you know, the servants came back and told you that everyone had died and the corpses had mysteriously disappeared. It's like, no. Kyrie came in and sacrificed herself for Battler, which in itself is not magic at all.
Yeah.
Right? Battler, is very interesting in that he's supposed to be telling he shows the truth of the tale, even though it's Beatrice who ends up doing that at the end. Not that I don't doubt that Battler knows the truth, which is why I think it's all a big ploy. But he doesn't actually use a ton of magic, right? Like, the closed rooms that he comes up with are pretty easy to see through because it's like, okay, they're all just plain dead.
It's also interesting to think that maybe that's why he was just so bad at episodes 1 to 5, because he's just not good at coming up with them.
It's also possible, yeah. But he knows the truth of the tale, and yet he couldn't. He didn't say, you know, the windows were never sealed. Just as an example.
Yeah.
Right. There was an out there, and Battler didn't take it, despite being able to use the golden truth and understanding the truth of the tale. Right. He knows about the multiple bodies trick. Why didn't he use that? But yeah, like, he doesn't really use magic in his telling of the story nearly as much as we've seen in the past. Even episode 5, right? Like, there was no, here are all the servants and they're having a chat with Beatrice and Natsu and they're going to protect the ghost of Kinzo. It was like, oh, these 6 people have been killed. There was a love duel, but that was sort of like detached from what was going on.
Yeah. Like, they even put it in the meta space.
Absolutely. Which of course then allows me to bring up the fact that you as GM Battler were narrating those spaces, despite the fact that Game Master Battler walked into them, which is fun.
I know. I was like, part of me
was like, what if we're wrong? But fuck it.
No, it wasn't that we were wrong. It's that like it kind of was like interesting to view it that way anyway.
Yep.
And the other thing is if we take the whole perspective that, you know, having seen the like nightmare in the logic error right from the start,
yep,
that this episode was actually viewed from the perspective of Battler, like reminiscing about everything that happened up until that point.
Yes,
so it made
definitely
sense for him to be seeing the meta scenes as he was like reflecting on how he got to this point.
Yep, definitely.
Plus, I just like speaking as Battler. It's a voice I have fun with.
I enjoyed taking a break from narrationship for a good while.
Yeah, because like
it's fun though.
It's one of those things where like I don't think my Battler voice is particularly good or astounding, but it's definitely one of the ones that I'm more comfortable with. So I'm able to be a bit more expressive with it.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's always fun to do.
Yeah.
Like, as bad of actors as we are, we're still...
It's fun.
Yeah.
Look, even if I may mess up voices and skip words and mix up accents,
yeah, like
it's a hell of a lot of fun.
I've become so used to editing myself that I don't like feel that pain you feel when you like hear your voice recorded.
It's not, I don't feel as bad as I used to, but I still occasionally I'm like, oh, that's not a good voice.
But what does kill me is, when you hear yourself doing a bad voice. So like, right now I'm in the middle of editing right when I first tried to like start doing Lander in the higher pitch.
Oh, Lander, yeah, okay.
And like, it's like really low and just kind of like pushing nasally to try and make it high. It's like agonizing. Yeah,
I had a lot of fun trying to figure out Erika's voice because I still don't think that's a consistent voice even by the end. I just knew that I had to make her somewhat classy, but also childish, but also know-it-all, but also completely batshit insane. Like, it's I give complete props to the person. I don't know who it was that did her voice actress for the voice patch version, but of the PSV version. But by God, that is a tricky voice to nail. I think I got the very good parts pretty swell.
I felt like I was hearing a decent voice for Erika.
That's good.
Like,
I'm glad you think so.
It was definitely, one of the voices that you kind of struggle to maintain at some points.
Yeah.
But the actual tone of it was like, I want to punch you in the face right now, and I feel like that's exactly where it should be.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely where it should be. I'm glad to hear you say that, sir. Oh my goodness.
Is there anything else we have like really left to cover? I don't know. We can talk about how it's a bit of a companion piece to episode 5.
Yeah, I mean, episode 5 is a deconstruction of the murder mystery, talking about these are all the ways that you can fuck up a mystery. This is what happens when you focus on like the rules. Hey Nox, how you doing? This is what happens when you focus on the red truce and don't actually try and work anything out. And then by Battler becoming the game master in EP6, he's like, no, these are not the things that we focus on. Like, even to the point that when you were trying to figure out, like, how Beatrice or Battler was going to figure out the logic error problem, it wasn't even like, here's a trick of, like, there was a trick of the red at the end, but by now the reader should have figured that out by that point.
Yeah.
But the thing that let Beatrice pull that shit was because she was like, hey Erika, why don't you just tell Dlanor to take away that red that you threw down earlier about not being able to use the window. Yeah. Right? Like, if they kept the reds the way that they were, then that wouldn't have worked. As even though it wasn't technically sealed, they've been sworn against using it. So my point, I guess, is that it's not about like using the reds to form a perfect cage for other people's theories. It's about like these characters interacting. It's about Beatrice saying, yes, Erika is prideful, so if I present something that she can only maintain her original theory by like breaking a thing that's been said, then she'll do that. That sort of thing. Like that final scene isn't really about like tricking a mystery reader. It's about Beatrice understanding Erika. In some ways, we would even say that she approached Erika with love.
You can just get rid of her. Her execute just gets rid of her in the magic space. That's great.
That's so sad. But yeah, like, they totally give Erika a fair shot, and they use how prideful she is and how despicable she is to like win that fight. It's not actually like a battle of rules and truths and red and blue. Like that bit is less important. Although it does make it visually very cool. But yeah, freaking Erika.
What a character.
She's great. Even if I despise her, she's great. But yeah, that's kind of her character arc. She's been vanished to the depths of oblivion, I guess.
Yeah, and then there's also the thing we brought up, I think in the middle of the playthrough, we were talking about how, like, trying to decipher the truth, and how I thought that it was kind of interesting to say that, like, maybe the Rekenjimer explosion incident, it has a name now, I'm so happy.
Yay, REI.
The Rekenjimer explosion incident actually was just like an accident, and nobody actually murdered everyone.
Yeah.
Because you'd like to think that despite all of the suffering we've shown they've been through, there's like the hopeful tale that maybe they didn't actually go insane and try kill everyone.
Maybe they didn't murder each other, maybe. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, and this is... I'm going to keep talking about Riku's writing again, but he writes all of his characters so they can be both the most despicable characters and the heroes. They can be tragic, they can be like stupid as hell, but so heroic you just want them to win. Like,
as entertaining as however many billion idiots.
Yeah, like Maria even is sometimes a villain, like when she rips Rosa apart in EP4, but she is like one of the most sympathetic characters in the whole story. She has done basically nothing wrong in any of the game boards themselves. As I said, Erika has the whole tragic thing, how this is her role and that's what she's supposed to be. Like all of the characters, Goda is constantly treated like he's an asshole. Ken even said like,
I hate that guy.
I hate that guy. Which is interesting if you consider the idea that someone who is canon is the one writing the stories and they portray Goda to be a bit of an idiot. But yeah, like all of the characters can be both good and bad sometimes at the same time. And so I think just as easily you could say, well, maybe everybody fucking killed each other. Maybe there was a Mexican standoff with all the adults and like everybody died, like some bullshit like that.
I would laugh so hard if episode 8 is literally just like an actual slice of life episode and it just ends and you're like, wait, what?
What? Yeah, like both possibilities are equally likely. The multiple truths can exist.
Yeah. I feel like at this point I'm pretty confident in saying that we won't actually get a definite answer. We'll get hints at what supposedly is the truth.
That's certainly what I wanted at this point in the story.
Like I'm sure we've brought it up before because it's something I feel strongly about, but I think I know that as a reader I prefer getting an answer, but I also understand as someone that writes things that I like writing things that are open-ended because it's almost more satisfying when you have these characters and you're like, well, where could they go? You almost don't want to say because you want to leave the possibilities open to these personalities you've created.
Totally.
But as a reader, you want to know, like, but what's the truth? But,
tell me concretely. I cannot think for myself.
So it's like...
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, Feathered even said, like, I'm not going to tell you the answer. I'm going to hold the end of the tail in this brown envelope until you tell me what you think of the story, right?
Yeah.
This is definitely not the kind of tale that is just going to straight up tell you everything, right?
Yeah.
Or at least that seems to be where the themes are leading to.
Yeah, and since Ava's dead, unless she's, like, written it down somewhere, there's no evidence of what the truth is, and then also even if Ava did write it down, we don't know whether that was another forgery, because, like, Seraphitic, shout out to you, sir, was said on the episode 5 podcast when I was posing the meta theory that maybe Ava wrote episode 3, which I don't think makes any fucking sense.
I mean, why would you portray yourself as the villain?
Guilt would be the obvious one.
Yeah. But
I think there are so many other things, and also the fact that we were told that it was Hachijo in this one that's meant to be like, nah, that's not the case.
Yeah.
There's certainly grounds for it, but I don't think it makes enough sense to be valid.
I don't know, maybe.
And then I'm also saying that Battler survived, so he's also someone that maybe knows the truth unless we go with the whole amnesia thing.
I don't know. It's a great question.
But it means that at least in Ryukishi's mind, there is a truth that probably exists.
Yeah.
Whether he's decided what that is, and whether that's a part of the story that we get, we don't know.
Yeah, actually, that's a good thing. I'm pretty sure we're almost done here, but that's the other thing that I want to bring up. The way that Ryukishi writes his novels, obviously, is that he writes one episode, and then he looks at the forums, and then he writes another episode, and then he looks at the forums. Like, I'm sure that the game board's layout, as it were, is decided at the beginning, you know, with 18 people, and this is the trick that's being used. This is the multiple personality trick. But I do wonder, like, how much of EP6 and EP5 would have been different if we'd gotten a different EP3, as an example. In particular, I know that the way that Erika is written is obviously, like, the things that she says are not digs at the audience in the sense that, like, she's like, well, I'm the witch of truth and I know everything and you're dumb. Like, we're not supposed to feel dumb because Erika tells us we're dumb. We're supposed to kind of pity the people who are like Erika, because that's the sort of thing that Ryuki saw on the forums. I've only heard about it because I didn't read it at the time. I only read it after it was all out. But there were plenty of people who, whether they were actually right or not, would say, this is my truth. You guys are all dumb because you don't actually get these clues. And, you know, whether or not you understand the truth or not, whether or not you are so certain that you understand the entirety of Ryukishi's works and you could speak for him, that's just fucking rude. Like, that's the whole point. If you think you understand, don't be a dick about it. That's basically what he's saying with Erika. Don't try and push people down by saying that you're better than them because you understand the story better than them, that you see more of the symbolism, the illusions, and all that shit. Like, it's great to do that. Like, I've really enjoyed listening to your thoughts and theories about that sort of thing. But if you're using that as a weapon to push people down, get the fuck out of here. You're not the kind of reader that Ryukoshi wants.
Like, way back when I did the epitaph thing, I, like, basically was like, hey, I put this out so that people can see, like, hey, you can probably do this early. Go try it yourself.
Yeah, totally.
Like, that's how, especially with something like this where a lot of visual novels and stuff like that have a community around them.
Yep.
You want to be a part of that community rather than trying to just fucking hold your head high and be like, I am the one that figured it out.
Yep. Definitely.
Like, if I came in with that attitude of this playthrough, it'd be just a piece of shit.
Yep.
Like, I have nothing to prove here. I'm just trying to read a fun story and like encourage people to enjoy it along with us.
And ask some questions about things and have answers, maybe.
Yeah, because there's a part of me that's like, even if I hadn't, picked up on some stuff earlier, that still would have been entertaining.
Yep.
Like, because watching as Featherin said in this episode, watching an idiot blunder about in the story, the answer to can be pretty fucking entertaining.
I'm so glad that I voiced Featherin and you voiced Ange.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even at the end, and then at the end of the story, Featherin's like, you have been the greatest Miko. Even though Ange doesn't even have, like, a truth at the end. Featherin's just like, you have been an excellent reader. I thank you very much for entertaining me, right?
Yeah, it's almost like, because, Ange had an emotional reaction to the story, but she wasn't like, this is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
She's, the things that she had problems with was the fact that she was fucking murdering her entire family again.
Absolutely.
Could you just fucking imagine it's like your entire family dies in an accident, then someone's like, oh, that'd make a good story.
This is definitely an interesting point to make, that, like, if we look at it from the perspective of Ange, we're tangenting again, let's go. Like, her entire family died, and people thought it was just such a fun story. They decided to rewrite it again and again and tell her all these different ways that her family was killed. How would that feel for her?
Exactly.
Right?
The other thing I love is, at the moment, I don't know if it's still coming out or if it's, like, done at this point, but there's a series called The Crown coming out, which is about, like, Queen Elizabeth II and her life. And apparently, Elizabeth loves that shit because she loves seeing what people thought her life was.
That's pretty great. I feel like Angie's not a fan of that. Yeah, totally.
I think, and there's one other thing that we maybe should or shouldn't discuss.
What is it? I don't actually know.
Yes, you do.
I don't. I'm concerned.
You were the one that said we probably shouldn't cover it.
Oh. What was it? Oh. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen,
let me introduce this because it's probably important to know why I know about this.
Okay, good. Then I'm not being a fucking hack and telling you shit you shouldn't know.
So fucking Rosicrus, right? It's a thing that exists in the community. I know about it because there's 8 hours of video that I haven't watched, but I keep seeing it, like, recommended next to our videos.
Yeah, it's been
and
unfortunate.
one of the thumbnails is my culprit, my accomplices.
Yes, it's not good. It's not a good thumbnail.
And I first saw it around, like, episode 4, just after I was starting to work with the Seo theory.
Yeah, so it's not...
So I was, like, already kind of unconcerned because I'd managed to lock down the first 3 episodes with this theory. But I was like, I'll try and make it work. Because one of the things I've been doing is, like, behind the scenes, like, well, would this work instead? Would this work instead? Is part of why I get really lost in the episodes, because normally I just sit down, have the time, and, like, look over things.
Yep.
I don't, like, watch through the entire videos because that'd take fucking forever. I just kind of sit there and scrub through them in video editing stuff. But I couldn't get the triangle of bullshit that thumbnail suggested to work.
So there is another theory that is not hinted by this episode. It's the Rosicrus theory. Rosicrus is a theory that exists because people thought people are thinking at this point that it's too dumb to have one person running around as multiple servants who have shifts on multiple days, and like, that's just stupid. How could anybody...
Yeah, it's something that I definitely noticed in trying to come up with the Seo theory, is that, like, this is such a fucking stretch of reality.
Yeah.
And that's also what got me onto the thinking of, like, maybe this didn't happen, and maybe Shannon and Canon weren't actually separate people. It was just the author splitting themselves to hide their identity in the story.
It's a fun theory, but basically the Rosicrus theory... Seotris, that's like one of the other names of the Chicanitris theory. But the Rosicrus theory basically says that George and Nanjo are accomplices, And therefore, it's a superior theory because it requires less accomplices than the Searchers theory.
Of course.
Of course.
Because superior is the one thing we've established that Ryukishi wants.
And efficiency and optimal plays and all sorts of things like that.
I would love to see how episode 4 is pulled apart by this.
I don't actually remember, but I did watch the full 8 hours of the theory breaking down episodes 1 to 4.
I would call that insane, but considering we're like nearly 100 hours into this shit,
I know.
Probably more.
Yeah, I thought we were up to multiple hundred hours by this point.
Maybe we are.
But anyway, basically it slips through the red. Like, it is technically valid.
Yeah.
The problem is, why the fuck does why is Rosa interested in Battler? Is it what is happening there? There has been like no foreshadowing of that whatsoever. Point is, it basically ignores EP 5 to 8, I believe. It is just based on episodes 1 to 4. I don't want to say that people who believe in Rosatrix are wrong, because that wouldn't be right of me. I think that it is, you know, another truth that is valid. However, I personally believe that the story and the things that the story is trying to teach do not line up as well with that theory.
As someone who hasn't actually looked at the videos, I'll say I feel like it misses the entire fucking point. Like, I don't know how it works, and in my efforts to try and get it to work, it was always, like, you know, bullshit like was suggested back in episode 2, where it's like, Rosa dropped the keys off, someone else killed them. George was the one to commit suicide in the room with Goda, Shannon, and George. But it's like, but George is the one with a stake in his head. That doesn't make sense.
Alright, so...
And the point being, aside from it just requiring some bullshit to work, like, things in this story already required some bullshit to work, like 2 people being 1. Let's not forget about that. But it's the details that are in favor of the Seiya culprit theory, all the details that kind of, like, work away the Rosatrix theory, and there's a lot less foreshadowing for it. And also, without love it cannot be seen. What the fuck is Rosa doing with Battler?
So it's a deception. That's the basis of the Rosatrix theory, is that all of this talk about, like, love is for like the characters in the story is meant to misdirect you from approaching the mystery the way that Ryukishi wants you to.
Of course.
And that essentially this entire, like, EP6 in particular is just blatantly meant to distract you from the true truth of Rosatrix.
Makes sense.
And
really,
that Ryukishi is lying to the audience.
Really, the theme of love is here just to distract us. Yeah. Personally, my favorite part of Star Wars is where they set it in space to disguise you from the fact that it's actually about naval combat.
not terribly inaccurate, I think. But yeah, I definitely can't talk about all the intricacies of this theory without going into spoilers, but I don't believe in it. I'm not going to hate you if you believe in Rosatrix.
Yeah, like,
if you have researched it and you believe it, I am not going to hate you for it. I won't judge you for it.
If you've put in the time to come up with a culprit theory that works, respect you, because it takes work.
Absolutely. I'm sure you would know all about that by this point.
Yeah, like, I've put in some fucking time to this shit. I know that it can be pretty tough to work it all out.
Yes.
Interestingly, as I said in episode 5, it's kind of becoming easier because it feels like that's less the point now. But not to tangent. I still think that to say that Ryukishi was trying to make this a perfect distraction to make it a puzzle for his readers goes very much against how I understand Ryukishi writes, where I know Higurashi is a lot about friendship. I know Higenbana is a lot about
bullying.
Bullying and, like, social politics. And then I don't know shit about Rose Gun's days.
It's about, like, politics, like actual, like, politics post World War II, I believe it focuses on.
Yeah, but the point being that, like, the themes of the novel are strong and contribute to the novel. It feels like it would be very much against how Ryukishi seems to write to say that all of this was a distraction.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I mean, that's why I lean towards the Searchers theory, of course. I think it's okay to say that at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, like, as much as I'd like to say that I've remained untainted by the internet in terms of coming up with my theory, I think the moment that I said Seiyo and you were like, okay, and just didn't question it, was like a moment where I was like, okay, Something's up here.
Yeah. I mean, if we're going to get into that, like, I'm not going to say that my influence hasn't affected you at all.
Yeah.
I've tried to, like, be as impartial as I can, or flip back and forth as much as I can, because that's fun.
But I feel like both from you and from, like, talking on online about the stories I've been going through it, there seems to just be, like, a general consensus that Seo is the truth, especially because just no one brings it up whenever you mention the name. Yeah. And the only person I ever saw brought it up in the most ham-fisted way. Love them dearly, won't name them.
I don't actually know what you're talking about.
I know who I'm talking about.
Sorry, we'll talk about it later. We'll bitch about them when we're not recording, so.
But it almost made it more obvious that they understood what was going on in the way that they were like, what are you talking about?
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a mystery, and as we saw at the end of EP6, if we're taking the Seatress theory, the trick is exceedingly simple. There are only really two things. This is the thing that Ryukishi does. He makes very simple rules for his stories and fucking sticks them like, I don't know, gold on Shumia.
You're trying to come up with an analogy here.
Duct tape on Erika.
He sticks to them like a spider web on a witch. It burns a little bit when you don't know them properly.
It doesn't stick on them. They drop it immediately or whatever. Point is,
have you ever touched a spider web? Does it fall off you when you touch it?
But they're witches. It's magic and shit.
There's no magic. Okay, let's talk about.
Wait, I wasn't done. What was I saying? Shit.
We're talking about rules. And Ryukishi sticking to them.
Yes. So Ryukishi writes like 3 or 4 rules for his scenario of his game boards in quotation marks, and then he sticks to them. And literally all that is required, like as complicated as it is, and I'm not at all devaluing anyone's efforts in deconstructing the first 4 game boards, there are 2 rules. 1, it's a narrative. Anything can be changed around because it's a narrative if Battler isn't there. 2, Chicanadress is a thing. You take those 2 rules and you can solve pretty much everything, right?
That's pretty much what happened, is when at the end of episode 3 it was like multiple personalities.
Yeah.
Oh, Cannon appeared as a ghost. What does this have to do with anything?
Yes.
And then within the space of a week I was able to solve all of 1 to 3.
If you're paying attention to the story, as you have, it's actually not that complicated at all, right? I mean, it is complicated.
It's far-fetched.
You know what I mean? The tricks are not that complicated. Like, I even think that you wrote down, like, these are all the ways that I think the tricks were done. It was just, this was a lie, this character did like, this was not a locked room at all, like, this character was living, like, you don't have to come up with these long, like, there was a rat that felt like it had to get some cheese, and so at the current time it hit a stopwatch that went off that woke the octopus that flung a crossbow bolt through the vents, and then it released the poison gas. Like,
I can't wait for this to be exactly the subject matter of the Umineko Who release.
I hope so. It's just a bullshit fragment with just traps everywhere.
That'd be so great.
But yeah, like,
let's talk about.
It's a simple trick. Is my point.
Episode 7 and 8. Where are we going?
Why are you asking me?
Because Ben. Someone had to say it, and it wasn't going to be you.
I was tangenting. I was having a good time.
I don't know. I think the very obvious thing that we're going to get to here is Bernkastel is, like, going to show indirect elements of what is supposedly true.
Okay.
The fact that there are 2 games tells me we're going to get a fuckload of misdirection.
Okay.
I don't know really how much more I can really pin on it. I'm assuming we still have a few more characters to appear. I'm assuming we're still going to get Van Dyne appear through Wright, or whatever the name was. It was Willard Wright.
Something like that, yeah. That's everything?
Yeah, because that was like his real name and Van Dyne was his pen name.
Oh, right, okay.
But I think that it might be the other way around. But anyway, we still have a few characters to appear. I don't know how many more we're going to get. Hopefully not too many. My voice is running out.
I know. I am trying to come up with a voice for a character, I'll let you know, and I just have no idea what to do for it.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm excited to see what we get. I will not be surprised if the culprit for the next 2 games changes, is all I will say. Because there's been a way to make 1 to 6 work with Seo, but if we're getting the truth, I almost feel like it's gonna change now. Especially the one line that really kills me and I can't stop thinking about it is way back in, like, the end of episode 3 or the beginning of episode 4. Burn's like, I could show you the truth, but that would be really unhappy for you. I was like, fuck. Rudolph and Kyrie the culprits?
I don't know.
Like, I almost feel like that'll probably end up being the case, or something similar to it. You know, the fact that maybe the truth is actually more tragic, in that, you know, fucking...
Well, like, if Erika is an extension of Burn, and Erika's all about smashing people with the truth, Burn kind of does a similar thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of her jam. She's kind of a dick.
So yeah, I don't know where episode 7's going. I think we're gonna twist it up a little bit. I think Ryukishi's shown us enough to be like, all right, cool, let's have some fun with my game now.
Radio. We'll see then.
I'm scared, honestly.
I am so excited. We'll see you all in, what's the next one?
Don't you know?
I don't remember.
Should we go check?
Can we check? Surely we can check if we just go title back and then it'll be there. We won't read out the blurb though, but we'll just check what it's called.
We'll blank it out.
Because I know what 8 is. I know what 8 is.
You got a few seconds to come up with it.
I have no idea what it is.
You got a few seconds.
I don't actually remember. Just click on the thing, you giant dumb.
Come on. You got a few seconds.
I don't know what it is! Why are you telling me to come up with something?
I think... What have we had so far? We've had...
End, dawn...
No, all the way back.
Oh, actually, I know what it is.
I'm pretty sure it's Twilight.
No, this is...
Is
it? Actually, which way around is it?
There's Twilight and Requiem.
Yes, I'm gonna say it's Requiem.
I think it's Twilight.
Hey, nailed it! The veteran got it right. Go me.
Unsurprisingly.
There we go. All right, don't read that. Save it for next time. Thanks for coming.